water permit and our transition to what we call the digital plan room. Now, the digital plan room is just one component or one piece of our permits online application system. And we switched to this new system for grading permits and building permits well over a year ago. We're sort of phasing in the transition permit by permit over time. And so now's the time to conduct the switch for sewer permits and water permits. The online process is similar to what it has been in the past, but it's slightly different. So we're here today to demonstrate the change for you. So a couple questions, why are we doing this and why this component of digital plan room? Well, our goal, several goals. One is to increase the speed of plan review time and getting applications to issuance quicker. This gets contractors to work sooner, gets the projects completed sooner as well. Our second goal is to increase the transparency and to provide better access to our plan review comments. There have been numerous efforts along these lines, and the digital plan room is just one of these efforts. And we believe this component of digital plan room will get us there towards these goals. So why this particular piece of software? Well, the digital plan room affects applications and submittals and provides a level of document control, if you will. This will help us create more complete applications and less back and forth at the application phase. It may appear to be more rigid at the onset in terms of which documents can be uploaded. There are criteria for the documents based on permit type. For example, I'm going to use a building permit as an example here. Most building permits require a soils report or a geotechnical report. Now, this new system will recognize that as a requirement of building permits and requires that a soils report is uploaded as part of the application. That's just one example. It really doesn't apply to water permits or sewer permits, but this system does provide a level of document control so we get complete applications. Now, this component also affects the plan review process and the resubmittal process. Again, it may appear to be more rigid at the beginning, but there's a reason for it. And the piece that's rigid is it only allows a resubmittal when all comments have been provided. And I'm referring to the primary discipline, the secondary discipline, or the multiple secondary disciplines. And again, using a building permit as an example, we've got a building plan reviewer doing the primary discipline comments, but we have well and septic that may need to comment or planning needs comments, and the applicant won't be able to resubmit until all those secondary disciplines provide their input or a clearance. And so what this prevents is multiple resubmittals. So in the past, clients would get the well and septic comments and address those and resubmit. And then they'll get the planning comment and address those and resubmit. And we get this version control thing that kind of, it has spun out of control. And so what this new system does is it kind of locks that down and it waits for all the comments to be provided before a resubmittal is allowed. Now, designers can see those comments. They can start addressing those. It's just that they can't resubmit until everybody has commented. Now, this new component also provides greater and easier access to our comments. So you can go and see them online. You don't have to wait for them to be sent to you. You know, have a well and septic send you comments or planning send you comments. They're all in one location and you can go online and view them. If you happen to time it, you can actually see the comments being written down. But the system will send you a notification when the comments are provided so you know when to go look. The comments are presented either in a list type format, but they can also be seen on the plans. So you can get the comment in context to your design. Another component of this new system is transparency. So in the new system, the client will be able to tell where the application is just by looking at the status. And so you'll be able to tell whether we need to provide comments, if we've started the review, if we've provided comments, or if it's waiting on the applicant to resubmit something. One example of that is well permits. It only has one status, and through the plan review process, it stays in paid status until it becomes issued. The client doesn't know if we've picked it up, if we've reviewed it, where we're at in our review, and that kind of thing. So along with we are updating the statuses so that folks, and we'll be defining them and putting them online so people know what those statuses mean, but it'll give you more of a sense of where we're at. And it also helps us with processing times. With just one status, we don't even know where it's at unless we look at it on a project by project basis. But with the statuses, we can tease out the information and know how long it's taken us to do a plan review activity. And we have some of these reports for building permits and grading permits, but as we roll this out with other permits, more of that information will be coming forward. A couple housekeeping things. All the viewers are muted. This is on purpose. You don't need to change your settings or anything. We do this so that people aren't talking over one another and that kind of thing. The second thing is questions. So we're going to be handling questions through the chat feature. We'll be monitoring the chat, and we'll be answering the questions if there are pauses in the conversation or in the presentation, or at the end of the workshop. We do plan to get as many questions as we can in this hour. So generally speaking, the workshop goal is to focus on the technical improvement we're presenting and present the changes that this new tool brings. But we want to avoid specific or individual projects. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Thomas and Alex to go over some of the details.
Thank you, Nathan. So by way of introduction, my name's Tom. Tom Ceramelli. I am the IT manager for Permit Sonoma. With me also is Alex. I'll let him introduce himself, but he and I are going to kind of play opposing roles on this and kind of switch off in the presentation. So Alex, I'll let you do your introduction.
Thank you, Tom. I'm Alex Rosas. I'm the engineering division manager here at Permit Sonoma, and I oversee the sewer and water system permitting processes of our department. I'm going to be playing the role of various staff as they process sewer permit applications.
All right, excellent. And so, I'm going to go off screen here and start sharing my screen, and we'll walk through the process. So as Alex mentioned, I will play the role of the applicant. And Alex will play the role of staff. And so we'll kind of go back and forth in our presentation here. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so you should be seeing my screen here, and what you're looking at is what we call permits online. So there's nothing really changed here. You should be familiar with this. If you've applied for a permit through our system before, this is where that whole process starts. And you would start by clicking Start a New Application. For the benefit of the presentation here and to kind of speed things up, I'm not going to go through the parts of the application process that haven't changed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump forward here and switch my screen to the page where things begin to look a little differently for the applicant. And so this is the page that you arrive to when you're applying online. This is the last step before submitting your application. And it's basically a review screen where it gives you an opportunity to review all of the entries that you made, and you can edit and make changes. Directly prior to this screen in our current environment, you would see an upload page where it asks you to upload your documents, and that's where you would do that. That is the first change that you're going to notice, is that you will not be uploading your documents prior to submitting your application. What's going to happen now, starting over this weekend and into Monday, will be that your document upload will occur after the initial submittal. So let me walk you through and show you what that looks like. And so here's our reviewed items that we've already entered, and we're going to select the continue application. All right, and what you see now is that we've got an application that has been submitted, and you're seeing the screen here that says your application has been successfully submitted. You're seeing a record number down here. So we've initialized this record number in our system. And so for this application, we are getting SEW 24-0009. I will mention that we are in a test environment, so this isn't the real system that you would be interacting with. So numbering is going to be a little different and kind of starts a little closer to the beginning. And so the first thing you're going to notice here is you've got this upload plans and documents link here. And this is where you're going to go to upload your plans and documents. But the other thing that you would have noticed if you were actually doing this application is that you would have gotten an email. Once you submitted, and let me drag it over to the screen, you get this email. This email is telling you that we've actually received your application, and it's giving you some clues on what to do next. And so it's telling you your application review will not begin until plans and supporting documents have been submitted. And it gives you a link. Click here on how to go and do that. That link takes you to the same place that we saw here, this link. So you can either navigate directly during your application process, or you can come back to your email later and continue and pick up where you left off by clicking the link here. The other thing I want to call attention to is that there's some video tutorials and there's some actually written material that help guide you through this process. So if you have questions or you're confused along the way, you can click the links down below. That will get you to a video tutorial. The video tutorial that you see in this email and any email that comes after this, those video tutorials are very specific to the part of the process that you are in the midst of. And so this one here is going to take you to a tutorial that shows you how to submit your plans. The DPR help webpage has a whole glossary of help topics with screenshots. And it helps walk you through the process as well. So there's a lot of help for you if you find this at all confusing. So let's click the link here in our email, and let's go through the process of uploading our plans. And so when you click the link in the email, it takes you directly to the upload screen. What you're looking at is our Permits Online system, and you are looking at, as Nathan mentioned, what we call the digital plan room. And this is the technology that facilitates that plan review process. And so the first thing that you need to do here is you need to upload your plans. And you can see up in the top right, we have some requirements listed here. And what's required is it's telling us that a set of sewer construction plans are required. The system's not going to let you proceed without a set of sewer construction plans. It also lists down here in this little gray box a little bit more information, and it's going to tell you that we want you to identify what you upload here as construction plans as a document type, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So I'm going to go, I've got some documents that I've got set aside over here, and I'm going to do something very intentional because this happens with some frequency, is that what we get on the initial submittal isn't correct. Sometimes we end up with just some confusion and things are maybe the wrong document is submitted. We have applicants that have multiple projects going, and so they may send a set of construction plans for maybe a different address, a different parcel, a different project altogether, or maybe they've submitted just the wrong set of documents for that particular project. And so I'm going to show you what happens on our end when that occurs. And so I'm going to intentionally bring over a set of grading plans. We're applying for a sewer permit, right? And so a set of grading plans aren't going to quite do it for us. And so first thing we need to do is we need to select a document type. And if I don't select a document type and I click this upload and validate, I'm going to get this warning and error message that says, hey, you need to select a document type, right? So it's going to help me prevent moving forward without information that's required. So we select from the list here construction plans, and you'll notice we're asking up here for sewer construction plans, but the help item here is telling you to upload it as construction plans because we have multiple different varieties of construction plans, as you might imagine. So we're going to identify this as construction plans. Description. There's an opportunity to provide a description. This is not required. And I want to pause for a second and just ask Alex, is there something that you would like to see in the description here at all? Is there anything that you guys think it would be helpful for folks to enter in the description field?
Yeah, so we recommend folks provide a little bit more information about what it is that they're proposing, the scope of work, maybe residential sewer plans or commercial sewer plans or a sewer main, that kind of thing. Because as you notice, the name for the file itself that's ending in PDF might be your company's or your organization's file structure, but it may not be clear and intuitive as to what is it that we're actually submitting.
All right, so I put a little bit of a description in there, and then I'm going to click the upload and validate. So what's happening now is it's uploading the plans into our system, and the validation process is looking for some pretty key things for us. It's not uncommon for folks to upload documents with the wrong file type, right? We're looking for a PDF document here. That's what we need. And so if you're uploading a JPEG or a picture of something, or if you're uploading, a Word document, some of those things can cause problems on our end, and it just delays the review process. The other thing that it's really looking for here is it's not uncommon when the PDF comes in for somebody to have put a password protection on there, or maybe a PDF document has been corrupt for whatever reason. And it's checking for those things. And if it finds any of those problems, it's going to show an error here, and it's going to actually give you some help topics to help you correct whatever the issue is. So you end up submitting a document that's going to actually meet the needs of the review process. And again, just cuts down on that back and forth time and confusion of trying to figure out how do we get the document uploaded into our system correctly. So we've seen now that it's been validated. You see the green check mark, and now we can move on and continue. So what it's doing now is it's actually taking the document that you've uploaded and it's breaking it down into individual sheets. And so this is important because when we go through the review process, if you had a set of plans that was 20 pages long, let's say, and I'm not sure sewer permits get to that length, but if there were multiple pages here and during the review process, something was identified that required a correction, and that correction was on sheet 2, the system is going to actually ask for you to upload a set of corrected documents, but it's going to bring in that sheet as a corrected sheet as opposed to correcting the entire set of documents. And so it maintains version control on individual sheets. So that's why it needs to break it down into sheet numbers. What you're seeing here, and again, remember, I've uploaded something that's not correct, and I've done that intentionally so we can see what that looks like here. And this is kind of a clue to the applicant that, hey, maybe there's something not right here because you're seeing some thumbnails of the pages here. And so you might notice right away, oh, I've got the wrong thing here, and you can then jump back and put the right thing in. But let's say this is the right thing. One of the things that the system is looking for is page numbering. And so it's got some optical character recognition is what it's called. So the system is actually looking at the document and it's looking for that title block that you might see on a set of construction plans, and it's looking for a spot where the page numbering would exist. And it's going to put that page numbering in here. In cases where it can't find the page number, it's going to ask the applicant to number it for us. It also might find duplicate page numbers, something out of sequence, those sort of things, and it's going to give you an opportunity to correct those things here. So for the purpose of this, I'm just going to move on, and I'm going to call this page 1 and page 2. And now you see once you enter page numbering that actually meets the needs, the errors and the red text goes away, and it allows us to continue. All right, so now you're seeing that we've got our requirements are met here. You're seeing we've got a file that's uploaded here, and it allows us to finish. And so when I click finish, it's going to take a few minutes to process. And so I'll let Alex jump in and talk about some of the details around submitting plans for a minute while we're waiting for that process to finish.
Okay, great. What happens after the applicant submits their initial application is we have staff that perform an intake review. And in this case, Tom has deliberately submitted something that really doesn't meet our application standards. So what I'm doing on my end is I'm performing the task of our intake staff, and I'm going to be making an incomplete entry and identifying the deficiencies. What will happen next is the applicant will get a message from our staff, our system, identifying the deficiency and what needs to happen to move forward. So I just made those entries, Tom, and checking our system back office. Should have sent out the incomplete email.
Yes, so I've got some stuff here. So I'll take back over and show now. So the first thing we got is this email. And it's basically saying, hey, your plans and documents have been received. If you don't get this email, that means that you haven't quite finished the process. And that's not uncommon to see folks do that too, is that they look at that last screen that I showed you and it looks like things have been validated and the document's there, but there's a finish button down in the right-hand corner that we clicked. And if you fail to click that finish button, it doesn't complete the process. And so what I'm not showing you here is that if you leave the screen at that point, what's going to happen is you're going to start getting reminder emails that are saying, hey, you haven't quite finished the process. And you're going to get those pretty regularly. You'll start to see them come daily after a while. And so that's an indication that you didn't finish the process. And so what you do is you come back to our permits online and go in there, and it should bring you right to the screen where you need to click the finish button. So, but in our case, we've clicked the finish button and we've got this email telling us, hey, we've got your submittal and now it's ready for our review. All right, so let me get rid of that. And as Alex mentioned, he played the role of the intake staff member and went in and looked and noticed that, wait a minute, we want sewer plans, not grading plans. And so he's gone through and basically processed the application as incomplete. And so what you will have gotten is this email. And it's telling you that, hey, we've done our initial review and we're saying we need some additional information. And so it's not always that the plans are wrong. Maybe there's just a simple question that we need an answer to before we can proceed. Either way, you're going to get an email and it's going to tell you what those intake comments were. And here's what you're seeing here. And so it's basically saying here that the document provided is not the one that we need. So please submit the correct one. And importantly, it's asking you also to remove the incorrect one. And I'm about to show you how to do that. And again, I'll draw your attention down to the video tutorial and the help page information down here. Should you have questions or are confused here, there's some good information that you can get to there. All right, so we're going to go back and it gives us a link here. So you don't have to try and find your way back to where you need to go. When you click this link, it's telling you to please return to permits online and upload the correct plans. So we click that and it takes us right back to this page. And you can see the previously submitted plans are here. So I'm going to go in and I happen to have in a folder off screen here, a set of sewer construction plans. And I'm going to do that. Remember, I have to tell it that it is a set of construction plans. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did here. And I'm going to upload and validate. So it's doing the same thing that it did on the first set of plans. It's making sure that this is a correct set of plans, that we don't have any corruptions or password protections or anything like that. So it's validated that new set of plans. But if you remember, my email asked me to please remove the incorrect set of plans. Now we can do this on our end, but it's just so much cleaner and less confusing if you make sure that things are nice and tidy before you submit. So you have an opportunity here to click the little trash can and it'll remove the incorrect document. So by doing that, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to do that? And there you go. You've just removed the incorrect set of construction plans. So now we're going to click the continue button. And it's going to do the same thing it did before. It's going to look for that title block and it's going to look for sheet numbering. And so give it a second to do that. And here you'll see we've got the thumbnail of the entire set of plans, but it's also got a zoomed in version of the title block. So you can see as the applicant, where did it get the number that it put here? This all looks good to me. This is correct. We're not getting any errors. It's got page numbering that it found and looks pretty good. So I'm going to click continue. All right. And we're back at that screen again that I mentioned before. Somebody might miss the finish button. We need to click the finish once we've taken a look at everything that we see on the screen and it's telling me the review package is submitted. So there's some things happening in the background again, and it'll take a couple of minutes for that to show up on our end. So again, I'll turn it over to Alex. I think he wants to talk about some site plan requirements.
What I want to jump into is, again, acknowledging the intake process. We do have a verification process with our initial review staff. So what I'm doing on the back end now is just verifying that, yes, the correct type of site plan has been submitted, which I did verify. And then a little bit something new on our end is we have different disciplines that we are either refining or introducing in the review process to allow those specific disciplines to have a digital workspace for them to review and provide their comments. So I have completed that process, the validation process. So then the applicant should get an email saying it has been accepted. And the next step in our process is we would assess and invoice the applicable fees, which I'm doing right now. Then I'm making entries in our system that will push out a notification to the customers about those applicable plan check fees. A note about fees real quickly. Generally speaking, our construction permit applications get assessed fees at two different points through the process. First, we assess the plan check fees that allow our staff to perform the review work. We're in essence looking for code compliance, compliance with conditions of approvals, policies, that kind of thing. Once all the disciplines provide their reviews and approvals, we move toward permit issuance, and then there's a second set of fees that they are the permit or inspection fees that get invoiced and should be paid in order to issue the permit to then begin construction. Tom, I've completed the assessment of fees. So you should have gotten the email from the system saying, please pay these fees.
I have. And so before that, what we got was this email. And so after we submitted the correct set of plans, it's and Alex did the intake and accepted the application, what we got was this email that's telling us our application has been accepted and is now entering the initial completeness review phase. And so that tells us that things are moving along correctly and we don't have any more intake questions that we need to address. And so, as Alex mentioned, he's done the intake portion, assessed some fees, and things now are back in the applicant's hands. So nothing will proceed from this point until payment is made. That's the real key to move this along. And so what we got is this email, and it's telling us that we have an amount due and to please process payment at Permit Sonoma Online, and it's basically directing you to that. So again, if we click here, it should take us to a screen where you'll see a pay fees link at the top. So if we click that, it takes us right to an outline of what fees are due. And we can select the pay now. And I'm going to go through and process this really quick. To do that, I'm going to do it off screen. Give me a moment.
While Tom is doing that, I'd like to take a moment to mention, occasionally we may have staff that may process things out of order. They may invoice fees at initialization, but don't move the software along on our back end. We have some savvy customers that will kind of keep an eye out and as far as the status of their applications, and if they see fees, they may just pay them automatically. What I'd like to mention and request is you shouldn't pay the fees until you're asked to pay the fees. For that reason, if you pay them prematurely, it kind of creates some disruptions on our end.
All right, so we've paid the fees, and we've also got an email here that says thank you for your payment, and that we've received payment, and this is your indication that this is now entering the plan review process. And so that's where I'll turn it over to Alex, and he'll do some of the back end work that we do as staff as we go through and review the application.
Okay, great.
Is there anything you want me to share, or are you going to take over sharing it all?
No, I'm not going to share, but I'm going to explain
Okay.
what I'm doing. So the software for our staff, has the capabilities of reviewing the digital information, and we will provide comments directly on the plans or as part of the application process. And then the applicants will get those comments via different emails and notifications. So I'm doing that right now. So if you bear with me, I'll blow through pretty quickly. As I mentioned before too, we also created some digital workspaces for our staff, different disciplines, to provide the reviews where in the past it may not have been as clear or maybe didn't even exist at all. So you'll be seeing potentially other disciplines that commenting on your plans than you may not have had before, or maybe they were commenting in a different manner, an offline email, that kind of thing. There are also different kinds of plan check comments or issues in our systems. They're called issues that need to be addressed. So they're generally either deficiencies with the application or other requirements, such as you might need to obtain another permit type in order to get your proposed scope of work moving along. And we'll see that here momentarily when we turn it back over to Tom. So I'm almost done with the very quick review. So Tom, you should be getting the first of 2 emails coming back to you. And here comes the second. So what I've done on my end is I've completed 2 separate reviews, one under the engineering review, which is the primary review for the sewer construction permit, and a secondary review is the encroachment review. So the encroachment review really kicks in when there's ever any work proposed in the right-of-way. I will acknowledge, as we see the plans themselves actually identify a private road, but for the purposes of our training, I wanted to introduce the concept of an encroachment review or an encroachment permit, because very often sewer construction work happens both in the right-of-way and on private property.
All right, so what you're seeing on the screen here is the first of the 2 emails that Alex referenced, and you're seeing that this is the encroachment review, and it's telling you what their how they process this particular item, and they're saying that it's been conditionally approved. And so we're seeing that email, and before I click on the link, because you're going to see both issues, let me show you the other email. And so this one's telling you that the engineering review has been completed in this one corrections are required. And it's showing you again in the email, it's showing you the list of issues here. The first email you saw that we only had 1 issue selected. That's the first one. This is the second one. They don't often come in this rapid succession. But we're going to go ahead and click this one here because it's going to list all three of the issues. And so what's done is when you've clicked that, it's actually taken you to the page in the digital plan room, and you can see we're at the issues screen here, and it's giving you a list of the issues. So let's go through and look at them one by one. We're going to take the encroachment review, and it's giving you some information here. So it's telling us the proposed work requires a separate encroachment permit be issued for work in the right-of-way prior to issuance of a sewer construction permit. Now, in order for us to proceed, you have to acknowledge that you've gotten this message. And so we're just going to put something in here. Oh, spelling counts, does it? We're going to say that doesn't count. All right, so we're saying that we've understood that. And so once we've done that, now we're seeing that we've answered that particular issue. And so now we're going to go in and take a look at the others. So I'm going to look at comment number 1 here. And when this is a comment that's actually on the plans. The first one was just kind of a general issue. It didn't have anything to do with the plans that you've submitted, so you didn't see a drawing next to the issue. But this one is actually an issue that's been identified on the plan. And so I can zoom into this and take a look at what's being highlighted here. And I can see over here, please clearly identify sewer pipe length, diameter, and slope in accordance with applicable Sonoma water standards. And I'm going to put my response in here. And so again, I'm acknowledging that I've gotten the message and that I'm going to do something about it. And then I click save. And we'll see that I've answered that question. Let's say I want to go in and upload. Now, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to try and upload my new drawings. Shouldn't let you. Give me a second here. Let me find the.
As Tom is preparing the upload here, I want to acknowledge that one of the things that we're going to be doing is introducing more standardized site plan requirements, which it's going to be a way for our plan check staff to use as checklists in essence to identify the information that should be shown on the site plans in conjunction with checking applicable code standard provisions. So that'll be a new thing. It also set the expectation for applicants to use as guidance for how to prepare site plans and what information should be shown on those site plans. That's in development, and we'll be pushing that out as soon as it's ready.
Okay, so I've tried to upload plans and it's brought me to this summary page, and I can still see I have an open item here that hasn't been answered, and it's giving me an error telling me I can't upload plans yet because I haven't answered my issues. So we can go down here, and right from here, well, I guess you can't do it from here. We have to go to the issues. And take a look again at the other issue. And we see the highlighting here. And please provide appropriate Sonoma water upper lateral sewer trench detail.
I do want to acknowledge that the issues that I've created, also known as plan check comments, they are identifying things that are actually correct. But for the purposes of the presentation, I wanted to give an illustration or an example of the kinds of comments or issues that you'll see from staff.
All right, so we've answered all the questions. Now we can go back to our upload screen. Oh, let me back up. Can I back up? I'm gonna go off of that and come back. Something to call attention to here. So the first time that the correct plans were submitted, we've called this plan review plan cycle number 1. And so now we're going through and we're uploading a set of corrected documents, and this is now review plan cycle number 2. And this is how we maintain that version control. So what you're seeing on the screen here is each iteration of those versions that come through. And so it's not uncommon for things to go through multiple versions. And so you'll see each one come through as its new plan cycle. And so that's what we're doing here, is that we're uploading plans through the cycle 2. And so we see the resume button there. And so let me go back and grab. And you're seeing me drag and drop a PDF into the box there. You can also click the browse button and navigate to a folder on a drive somewhere and select it from there as well. Again, we've got to tell us that it is construction plans. And we're going to upload and validate. All right, so we've validated and we're going to continue. It's going through again and showing us what page numbers it finds. So you're not going to see this in action because I've, for the purpose of the demonstration, used the same set of plans in both scenarios here. But if you are uploading a set of construction documents that differ from the original, because you know what? Hold on. I had tried to upload the first time. Need to get rid of one of these. Because I tried to upload without finishing my issues and answering my issues, it brought 2 sets of plans in there. So here we are. So now it's actually correct. You've got just 2 sheets. It's found the page numbering. In this case, when you're uploading a second set, what you'll notice here that's different than the first time around is you actually are seeing the previous version. And so what you are able to look at here when you upload your corrected set is here's the corrected version, here's the previous version. So you should be able to compare the difference between the 2 and validate that things are different. The other thing that's valuable in this previous version thing is if somehow you went through and changed some page numbering, or maybe you slipped in a new sheet and your original set of plans was 10 sheets long and now the new set is 11 sheets long, you'll see how they compare across here. And what's important is that you maintain the correct numbering for like sheets. And so if things get mixed up here, you'll start to see red text here and ask you to correct it. And so you'll want to make sure that your previous sheet and your new sheet are actually the same sheet. Otherwise, it makes it much more difficult for us to do our comparative review on the back end and just slow some things down. So there's an opportunity here for the applicant to make sure that things are all aligned the way they need to be, and that just helps smooth out the review process and speed things up on our end. So we're seeing that everything's good here. We don't have an error and we're able to finish. All right, and the review package is submitted and we should get an email here in just a minute, and we have. And so you're seeing your revised plans are received. And now we're back off and running again. And so I'll toss it back over to Alex and he'll do his end of the process review.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So now that the resubmittal has occurred, it hits our digital desks and we perform the subsequent reviews. So this is where staff, again, using the DPR software, will compare between the 2 sets of plans, will evaluate the responses provided and any changes that were made to the plan sets. So that's kind of what I'm doing on the back end. I'm doing it pretty quickly. You might have situations where staff will accept the changes or the response and no further action may be needed. You may have situations where staff may not accept the response or the changes, and then they'll elaborate as to why we didn't accept it. Maybe it wasn't really addressed. Maybe it was addressed, but not in the correct manner. there's different ways or reasons why we would comment subsequently. So I have processed the responses in DPR. I'm going to move this along. We're going to assume everything is great. And well, I'm going to process this towards plan check approval and then eventual issuance. So bear with me for one moment. I'm approving the plans. I'm adding some what are called conditions on our end that will show up on the front page. It'll be a new cover sheet of the approved set of plans. And once we're done with that overall issuance process, Tom will show you how to access those plans and what will appear as a new cover page with information regarding how to implement or finally permit. Okay, moving this along. And as I mentioned previously regarding the fees, part of the issuance process is invoicing those permit fees. So I'm going to be doing that now and processing this forward so that Tom will get that notification that we're done with the reviews, just got to pay these fees and the permit will be issued. So it's there. And Tom, that email has fired off to you.
All right, let's give it a second to come through. All right, there it is. All right, so now we're seeing another payment due email. It looks just like the other payment due email, except for the previous one told us that the plan check payment was due. This is now telling us that the issuance payment is due. So this is your clue now that the only thing left to occur is that payment. And once you make payment, your permit is going to be issued. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, we see the pay fees button here. Okay, so we've processed payment and we're seeing that here. And then we just got an email that tells us that our payment has been received. And so payment has been received, but there's some things that are happening in the background to process some stuff. And so let's go take a look. And here's the next email that's now telling us, congratulations, your issuance payment is received and your sewer application has been approved for issuance and your approved plans are here, right? And so when we click on that link, it takes us back. Sorry about that, give me a second. And what you'll see now when you come back here is you see this new link off to the side and it's the approved set of plans. And so when you click here, what you'll see is you've got approved plan set for permit number 0009. And this is the official set of construction documents. So when you click the download button, you'll see that it brings you your approved set of plans. And what you'll notice is that we've got 3 pages. The original set of plans were 2 pages, right? And so we've got a page here. You'll see that the approval stamp has been applied. But you'll also notice on the very front, what it's done is it's put a general conditions sheet on the front of your set of plans. And so I'm going to toss that over to Alex and let him close this out and describe what you're seeing here. Go ahead,
Okay,
Alex.
thanks. Tom, if you're able to zoom in a little bit into that
Okay.
area, I can speak a little. There you go. Okay, so we know that when we issue a construction permit, there are various things that need to happen during the implementation of the permit and required in order to final the permit. We've had some decent controls and some structure on our end in our back office, but we haven't always been as transparent with our customers regarding those requirements. So what this software enables us to do is to be more clear and more explicit as to what is it that needs to occur as part of the scope of work for these permits we issue. So one of those things is, we expect inspections to be requested, different milestones, that kind of thing, and definitely in order to final that particular permit. We also recognize that many of our permits are linked. So we'll often develop a sequence of what permits need to be finalized in what order. So in this case, we're stating that the encroachment permit, which I just made up a dummy number, it must be finalized in order to final the subject sewer permit that we're dealing with under the encroachment review. So that encroachment discipline acknowledges here that there's this other related permit that we need to make sure that's tended to in order to final this overall sewer permit. And what you'll see is you may have different types of criteria provided by the different staff person, and it depends on the scope of work. But this is our way to communicate to our customers, to the permittees, to the people that are going to be doing the construction. There are these things that you need to be aware of. And it's intended to provide some guidance. So for example, we're providing some information regarding, there's different ways you can request inspections. You can go to this website here. The software doesn't provide the link, but you could copy and paste it into a browser. And then again, we will acknowledge when there are times that other permits need to be tended to, not finalized, to facilitate the final approval of the sewer permit or whatever permit that you're going to be doing.
All right, so that is the end of the presentation. We've gone through end to end from the beginning of the application to the issuance of the permit and the delivery of the approved set of construction documents. And so we only have a few minutes left. So far, I haven't seen any questions come through in the chat, so I'll invite those on the call. If you do have any questions, now's a good time to enter something into the chat. And while we're kind of going through that, I guess I would turn it back over to Alex or Nathan if there's any kind of closing comments.
Sure, if you don't mind, you can stop sharing your screen. I don't really have any closing comments prepared, but I do concur. I did not see any questions in the chat.
I'd like to add a few comments to Nathan, something that was mentioned at the beginning of the chat before some of our attendees joined, and also the department and the county's overall intent with some of these advances in technology, with some of these efforts that we're putting forward. One of those things is to be more consistent and transparent in the way that we permit different activities. So we have rolled out this DPR software, and the counterpart improvements such as the statuses are clear. Is it the county that needs to do something? Is it the applicant that needs to do something? That kind of thing. So we are being more consistent and transparent in our permitting processes. We are also developing counterpart guidance, such as what it constitutes a complete application. It's something that we've been directed to do, as well as part of our AB 2234 requirements. We got to be clear and open to the community as far as what are those requirements, what are those expectations when you submit something to us. What are the documents that should be provided? This DPR process, as you saw at the beginning when we're uploading, is identifying this is the thing that's required in order for you to apply. The counterpart to that is once you submit those documents, how are we checking them? And that's where, again, part of our objectives are to provide clear checklists, guidance documents, both for our staff to perform the plan checking on a consistent basis, as well as for our customers to know what is the expectation of those documents to be submitted to us. So again, some of this is under development. It will be pushed out as soon as it's ready. Other things like the DPR and the software related to that, that's going to be pushed out pretty much over the weekend. It will be in effect starting Sunday, Monday.
All right. So we're right on time, right at the end of our time. We saw no questions in the chat, so we'll conclude our session now. The last thing I'll mention is that we will post this recording online for folks to view in the future, and we will also send an email out to everybody that was invited to this call originally with a link to that online video. And so if you've got somebody that you know wish they could attend and wants to take a look at what we've got, you'll be able to forward that link on to them. So again, thank you all for joining and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.